He's Jim, I'm Alex, and this is the Charging Status EV podcast. Hi Jim, how you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. How are you doing heat-wise?
I was going to say, for the first time in your life, you're cooler than me. But,
Thank you so much.
I'm absolutely baking, so you will see me supping from my cold water.
Cold water.
Thus, but Alex has got aircon because he's incredibly middle class.
Yeah, it's a bit of a hot one today in the UK, but we soldier on.
Yeah, I am struggling being a man of my girth in a room so small in a house that's so hot is difficult. I did go outside as well and did a tiny bit of DIY this morning that been needing to be done for about 2 years, and I must admit I almost keeled over. It was just too much.
Oh man, I was doing some filming yesterday. My DJI.
Well done.
action camera overheated twice while I was filming something yesterday. So just at that point, you just think
they do overheat very easily, don't they? I find they're much better than GoPros, but they overheat a lot.
The battery itself gets quite hot, so I will try it next time. What I've heard is just power it off USB-C if it's really hot,
right?
Because if you look inside the camera, a lot of it's just the battery. So
that then bypasses the internal battery completely, does it?
Yeah.
Oh, I assumed the USB-C would just charge the battery and... Oh, okay.
Yeah, because a few years ago I forgot to take my batteries with me for the camera. I was like, so I just powered off the car. So,
and
it
Who'd
worked.
have things with batteries, eh?
Whoa. I know, stupid.
So, what have you been driving this week? Anything electric that's relevant to this podcast?
No.
Was it at least hybrid?
It was a Honda HR-V hybrid, the new one, which had a very mild facelift in September. Yeah. Little design changes and bits and pieces, so I made a video on that. That went back this morning, and as of recording, in a few hours I should have a Kia EV3 arriving.
Great.
It's their smallest EV, I guess it is. Yeah, their smallest EV that's currently on sale, sort of Golf size, so I'm quite looking forward to that because it looks really, really cool. So
I think I've got that maybe next month, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm still sitting on my Tesla Model Y video as well because I've had quite a busy week, but that might go out Sunday or Monday perhaps.
Nice.
But yeah, I probably referenced it last week, although I'm not sure if I did because we had a guest last week. We
did.
Batch. We'll talk about that in a sec.
Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoyed the Tesla Model Y. I had the launch edition, which is the one with some fairly unnecessary additions to make it a bit more expensive. And it did feel like an upgrade generally from my version of the Model Y. Couple of weird things though. Don't want to spoil my video, but everyone's made a big deal about the indicator stalk returning. Well, for someone going between the Model 3 and the Model Y, I spent the first 3 days stabbing the steering wheel furiously to turn the indicators on. And the actual lever they've given you now for the indicators is one of those things that's just really like a micro switch. So you can't actually pull it down, and it's just tap on, tap off kind of thing.
So it doesn't stay in position at all?
No. And I think I said in the video, but it looks like an opium pipe from some sort of 18th century den of iniquity. And it doesn't feel that good. And the one they had originally worked and it felt great.
Okay.
Progress, eh?
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't find it was particularly preferable to the buttons, and certainly going between the two is a pain in the bum.
Yeah, I drove that Model Y at the Everything Electric show a few months ago, and it was nice to have the indicator stalk back. But yeah, I noticed it had some weird behaviours and where it stays and stuff. It was a bit odd, but yeah. So, yeah.
I do feel like it's a good upgrade from the previous generation as well, but I don't think it's as obvious an upgrade as we had in the Model 3.
Okay.
And I thought the previous Model 3 was fantastic, but I thought the newer one really took a step up in just about every way. But yeah, great car anyway. I would have happily have swapped mine for it at the end of the week. Our old chum Nick's got that this week. Nick O'Leary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. I dropped it off on Friday. They said, "Oh, someone else has got it on Monday." I said, "Yes, Nick O'Leary's got it." They're like, "Oh, how do you know that?" I said, "I'm well connected."
Well connected.
Yeah, I'd just run into him at that BYD launch. So,
but yeah, last week we had James Batchelor, who has been a car journalist for quite a while, actually. In the general scheme of things, it was really good to have him on the show and talk about all the various bits and pieces that go on in the car reviewer space and his time when he first got started. I don't know if you watched the video version of the podcast, but I dug out some old clips that he was mentioning.
oh no, I haven't. No,
He had he looked quite fresh faced back in 2015, so it was quite fun.
If you're
fun to see.
watching Batch, you still do.
Ah, yeah. But yeah, I had to go back and find the videos he was referencing and just put little clips in there just for reference and stuff if people haven't seen them before. No, it was good. It was good to have him on, and I hope we get some more guests on at some point as well. Yeah, it was nice to have on. So
Yeah, we're certainly going to try and get a few more on. It's a shame we missed some good stuff because of a technical issue, didn't we? But I think we'll probably, well, I hope he'll come back on at some point. But we certainly want to try and get a few guests on from time to time, and let us know with your feedback if you like us having guests or if you like this new format where we just chat casually, or if you prefer when we were just going through news stories and stuff. Always good to get your feedback.
Yeah, I've had quite a lot of guests on my other podcast, the UI Chat podcast, and that seems to create a nice dynamic because in that show we go through a lot of the news for the last month, and it's nice to have people's insights on different things we're talking about. So I kind of like that dynamic. It works quite well. So
Yeah. I've just been making a video this morning, and this is not going to come out before 2:45 this afternoon. I hope, Alex.
No, I don't work that fast. Sorry.
No, good. So we can talk about it. But I've done a little video about a new VW Golf GTI. And you might think, well, why is this chap talking about this on an EV podcast? And it's because it's quite probably the last ever petrol Golf GTI. And that means we're now staring down the barrel of a new electric Golf GTI at some stage. And I'm just wondering what that might look like, because obviously the Golf GTI has traditionally been a front-wheel drive car, and that sort of hot hatch is very much it's become sort of 200 plus brake horsepower, more recently 300 plus brake horsepower, or around that sort of ballpark, front-wheel drive. But obviously front-wheel drive is a bit more challenging in an EV. In a petrol car, it makes sense to put the drive wheels under the heavy part of the car.
Yeah.
But with EV, that's possibly a bit more challenging, and in terms of getting the power down and sort of balancing out weight and all that kind of stuff. So I wonder if it will just be all-wheel drive in future. What do you think?
Well, it's interesting because the new ID.2 that's due to be revealed to the public, I think end of this year possibly, that is going to be front-wheel drive, because I think it reduces a bit of cost for them, so that if they put I think it's a packaging thing. There's already that space at the front. They haven't got to run wires to the back of the car for the motors and stuff. I think that's the reasoning. And I don't know if you saw it, but I think when we went to Millbrook last year, the SMMT day, there was an ID.2 static GTI there, and that looked pretty interesting, to be fair. I think having the GTI front-wheel drive does create a nice driving dynamic. I mean, it does feel very different to a rear-wheel drive car, obviously. So I think they'll keep that front-wheel drive with a modest amount of power. But I saw something quite interesting yesterday. There was a report on Autocar that said Volkswagen's apparently exploring plans for a ID.2R, which will be four-wheel drive. And they might, like that new Renault 5 turbo thing that costs much as a house, it will have the motors in the wheels, so to reduce sort of space and stuff, because that ID.2 is not huge. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Volkswagen are going to do something similar like the Ioniq 5N or that new EV6 GT, which got simulated gears, or I've got no idea, to be honest. There's a lot of possibilities for what they could do, isn't there?
It feels like a massive car for them. And even though I suppose even with current GTIs, they don't expect to sell hundreds of thousands of them. But it feels like a real statement piece, and one they need to get right.
Yeah.
So I guess they could do it with like electronic diffs and all kinds of different things to get it to perform as a front-wheel drive. But yeah, all-wheel probably makes a bit more sense. I don't know. But it's crazy now, isn't it? Because it's not too long ago where we were still talking about EVs as almost the preserve of enthusiasts, people that just particularly wanted to get into an EV. You know, those early adopters, the first people to get a Leaf and all that kind of stuff. And we're now looking at, well, there won't be another Golf GTI with a petrol engine in it, potentially.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, with some of these performance EVs, I'm in two minds, because part of my brain thinks, right, an EV should go as far as it possibly can with the battery it's got, motors it's got. And I was like, oh, the 5N's really fun, but it doesn't go quite as far. So yeah, what's the point? So I'm kind of torn on that opinion. But I suppose there are sports cars out there that don't do that well on fuel, but you want to have fun with them.
Totally, yeah.
So it kind of makes sense. But my experience with EVs so far has just been, right, I want to see how far it can go and how efficient I can be. I'm quite, yeah.
I think it's really important though for companies to address that part of the market. People that are enthusiasts, like proper petrol heads that absolutely despise the run-of-the-mill EV, think they're evil, blah blah blah. If you give them something truly exciting, that might just switch them onto EV, and you might find they then accept EV, and their daily driver becomes an EV. And I think it's been really canny by Hyundai to put that car out, the Ioniq 5N.
Yep.
Because it is ticking that box and it is doing that job. And I think more manufacturers need to do it. And don't forget, those kind of cars are only ever sold in really small numbers compared to everything else. But if that's kind of the tip of the arrow, then wonderful.
Yeah. No, 100%. I just envision some of these performance cars. I envision sort of driving off into the middle of Wales and sort of bashing it around all the lanes and stuff. And it comes back to like an age-old question. It's like in those sort of very remote places, the charging infrastructure in the depths of Wales is not amazing at the moment. So just kind of the practicality of doing that in like a 5N. I know it's got quite a decent range, but still, like I just see whenever I go over there, I see loads of Caterhams and superbikes and stuff. So it's those sort of people that take their cars out the weekend that might want something like that. So it's interesting.
I mean, there's also that thing where, do we get to a point where, I know you've got things like eco mode and that kind of stuff, but do we get to a point where you can literally turn down the power but still retain everything else? So have like the crazy suspension and the fun mode, but instead, I don't need 650 horsepower at the moment. Actually, 300 would make the rest of my hair fall out. So let's go for 300, but I still want it to handle the same way. I still want it to have a lot of those characteristics. And I think there's so much that can be done with an EV that's more challenging with an ICE car, that we are just seeing the beginning of it at the moment. But I like it personally. I also think we don't need to get any faster now.
No. It's gone bonkers, isn't it?
I think like 4-second 0 to 60 time is absolutely more than adequate for anyone, aside from, pure track cars.
Yep.
So perhaps we should stop challenging that side of things and focus more on loads of performance and efficiency.
Yeah, definitely. That makes me wonder, in that 5N, like I don't know how much less range it's got compared to the standard version, but I don't know if it's a weight thing that's causing the big difference in range, or it's simply the amount of power that's in the motors. because like you said, if you turned it all down, in theory, I don't. If you, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if it's the amount of power that's causing the lack of efficiency there.
I think it is probably purely that.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I mean, you are more than doubling the power.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of clever stuff going on as well that to obviously get it to perform and still handle with that much power. And I don't know if they're using different motors or anything potentially.
Yeah.
Possibly, maybe.
Yeah. Just going back to that ID.2 GTI. So it is due. So Thomas Schaefer, the current boss of Volkswagen Group, was saying that the ID.2 GTI will be a monster, and but I don't know exactly when we're actually going to see it, but it will be front wheel drive. They're saying, so
Right.
that's
Okay.
Yeah, that's quite interesting.
With 400 horsepower.
I don't know what level of power they actually said. This is great podcast content.
It's the R you were talking about with 400, wasn't it?
It was the ID.2R with 400 brake horsepower. Yeah.
Right.
ID.2 GTI is due for 2026. So sometime next year, and I guess we'll see the standard ID.2 later on this year. And that sort of Golf GTI electric that you're suggesting is apparently going to be a few years away, and the petrol car that's currently out now will be on sale for the rest of this decade. It's suggesting so. Yeah, definitely exciting time. I don't know if you saw this as well. Audi have said they had a target date of not releasing any more petrol cars. That was sometime in the next few years, but they've now cancelled that plan altogether. I guess just to shift more petrol cars to people who want them.
I think Volvo have as well, haven't they?
Have they? Okay.
Or they've certainly backed down a bit from
Right.
we're going to be completely EV from this date. I think.
Yeah.
They've kind of moved away from that.
Yeah, it's an interesting one.
I do wonder how synthetic fuels will change things, and I don't know how long the sort of development curve is going to be on that, and when they might be readily available, if ever.
Okay.
But I don't know. It sort of feels like these manufacturers that are now making these sweeping statements are in the know about something that we're not.
Also, like, if they're developing new engines now or keep manufacturing them, on top of my head, I don't know what other countries have got the same rule we've got.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the whole of Europe that they've got that rule for. Is it just all of the UK? I know some countries in the EU have got the same sort of rules we have, but it must be just for other markets potentially.
And obviously the US, especially with current leadership, they're not going to be desperate to go full EV.
No.
Then you've
That's
got
a big market,
like the Far East and everything. You know, think of Japan.
Yep.
I mean, the Japanese manufacturers are not exactly doing cartwheels about EV, are they? Did you see the Mr. Toyota came out, or Toyota Sun, and said something like EVs are, I don't know, 3 times worse for the environment than ICE cars, and he said like for something like 9 EVs will produce more carbon than 27 ICE cars, or something like that.
What? Okay.
It's a bit like the carrot salesman saying to you, carrots are good for you, eat them. Or cigarette company saying, smoke fags, guys, they're good for you.
Yeah, I don't quite believe that statement potentially. But the synthetic fuel stuff, I don't know. Obviously, you're still burning something. I don't know what comes out the back of the car. Still, is that still nasty stuff? But
I don't think it is. I think it's completely clean.
Okay.
But one of the issues around that, I think, if this has all been done for purely environmental reasons, which I personally have never thought it is. I've always think a part of it is to make us more self-sufficient and less reliant on OPEC nations and Russia and another. But if it is purely for environmental reasons, you only have to look at how much traffic out in the shipping lanes is vehicles carrying fuel, ships carrying fuel. And it's something astounding, like 25 or 30% of all ships are carrying fuel. And obviously, if they then need to carry synthetic fuel,
Yep.
you've still got everything that those ships are producing.
Yeah.
And of course, you only have to look at aviation and the environment, and that's not great either. So I think the important thing is, like, we get cleaner cars on the roads on a year by year basis. And if it takes a bit longer, so be it, I guess.
Yeah, I watched your video where you recorded yourself sort of driving in your car, talking about the ZEV mandate, and we talked about the ZEV mandate with Batch last week as well. I do agree with a lot of what you said, to be fair, but I think the overall benefit of having cleaner vehicles on the road has been lost with all the sort of the forced nature of it all. Yeah. And you mentioned that we, as a nation, we don't really like being told what to do, but I think the overall benefit of air that doesn't smell and air that isn't sort of dirty and stuff is that main benefit has been, I think, lost. Not that it isn't there, but I think that people don't seem to realise that anymore, because that is a massive benefit. Because if you take a walk around a city that it hasn't got many EVs in it, it just absolutely reeks of diesel and stuff.
Yeah, it's disgusting. Yeah.
So I think that benefit has been sort of forgotten a little bit. So
London Underground's always the worst one for me. It's hideous.
Right.
Absolutely hideous. I took that video down, by the way.
Okay.
I made the other day simply because it was a dud and no one watched it, and I don't like to have too many of those on the channel because it doesn't really help. But B, a lot of the people that did watch it didn't watch it, and they just went straight into the comments, and I don't know, a lot of the comments were coming in were just stupid, and they're people that hadn't even watched the first 10 seconds.
Right.
And I just thought, do you know what? The video's not performing. It's actually not making anyone think. And I think they missed the point of the whole thing, which was that my argument was that I think we would have more people in EVs now if we didn't have the ZEV mandate. I don't think we'd have as much choice of car as we have now, which is massive. Yep. But I think more people would have got into EVs because in my close circle of friends, I'd say 80% of them had no interest in EVs and have since travelled in one of my EVs, one I've had on loan, and now have an EV.
Yep.
And most of them have done it because they either prefer the drive or prefer the running cost or prefer both. And there are one or two die-hard petrol heads within that. And but if you'd asked them before, they'd be like, "Oh, I'm not doing that. Why should I have to change my car? Because..." And they miss the whole point as well of, the fact that you'll still be able to drive your car after that date. You just won't be able to buy a new one. Yep. So I just felt like, probably because it was completely unscripted, unstructured, and really badly put together, I felt like I was clearly missing the point that I was trying to make in the video. Yeah. And a lot of people thought I was it was some sort of negative thing against EV, and it's not at all. Yep. I was actually trying to say that if you'd let's get on with it, more people would be in them, and there'd be less of a backlash from sometimes morons. I
can't work out if when the original Nissan Leaf came out, I can't remember if there was the plug-in car grant at the time. So I don't know I don't know what inspired Nissan to make the Leaf originally, and then that eventually brought out the Zoe and other stuff like that. I don't think really that the manufacturers, I don't think they would have put so much money into developing new EVs than they have done now if there wasn't sort of some incentive. I don't think, but I don't know when the ZEV mandate actually came in.
I really think they would because of Tesla.
Because of Tesla, yeah.
Because Tesla took such a massive amount of market share, and there's no way that you're a VW group and you don't react to that.
Yeah. Was this back in when the first Model 3 came out? That sort of era? Or even before
even
then?
Model S.
Even
Like
Model S.
Model S made inroads, I think, but when Model 3 came out, it was a complete game changer, wasn't it?
It was, wasn't it? Yeah.
Because it was no longer a premium vehicle, really.
Mm.
And it offered so much and allowed so many people to get into an EV that would have previously like laughed at the idea.
Mm.
And I just don't think that would have gone unnoticed. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to think, a brand new company to car production, and they suddenly take a massive chunk of the market.
Yep.
All the big players would have to have reacted, and I'm sure we still would have had one or two new brands come along.
Yep.
To just try and replicate.
Yep.
So, well, Tesla have done it. Let's go and do that.
Yep.
Yeah. I just don't think you'd look at, I don't know, VW Group and think, well, I've got a choice of 20 EVs here. I think they'd probably have 3.
Yeah. And also,
they would probably be more expensive because of it.
yeah. But also the Chinese, I was reading this thing about the car market in China. They started developing cars not that long ago, and they purposely skipped over combustion straight to EV because, well, they knew that's where the market was going. So what we might have seen is, if there wasn't any sort of incentive for brands, the Chinese might have come to the European market and the UK market a bit sooner than they might have done.
Yep.
That's probably what we would have seen, and this sort of explosion in the market might have come a little bit sooner. So, yeah.
By the way, Batch made a really interesting point, didn't he, about Chinese EVs always having loads of legroom in the back.
Yeah.
I had no idea about that, but when you review a car in China, you do so from the back seat.
Yeah. So there was this really sort of poignant episode of Top Gear that was released, I think 2012, where Jeremy and James went to China and they drove these really quite horrible Rowies and other things that were like, must have been 2011, 2012, and they were awful. And one thing they said was that, give it 5 years and you'll all be driving Chinese cars. It's taken a little bit longer than that. So
Yeah.
But it has happened. And that they mentioned at the time that all the Western manufacturers like Mercedes and Audi had specific long wheelbase versions of their cars for the Chinese market because they're like driven around, and it's very apparent.
I had no idea about that. It's amazing what you can learn from when you speak to a professional, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that episode of Top Gear is very sort of eye-opening when you watch it in retrospect.
Yeah,
because they will
try and find that.
Yeah, I'll send you a link. I'll put it in the show notes as well, because it was, they were producing some quite awful stuff at the time, and now they're just amazing. One thing I was going to say, I can't remember.
While you're thinking of that, I'm just going to say to the good people that are listening and watching that if you've got this far into this episode, you need to subscribe, or follow, or do whatever it is you need to do. Leave a review, leave a comment. It's all gratefully received. So thanks very much.
Yeah, sorry. Just going back to what I was saying earlier, the whole ZEV mandate thing is the whole purpose of the whole reason to go electric has sort of, again, it's been forgotten. Making everything a bit cleaner everywhere, because that is a nice thing about it. So but yeah,
great point. Well put across. What are your plans with the EV3?
I've got, thankfully, a bit of a quieter week next week. I'm probably going to take it out this weekend. What I'm starting to do because I've got cars every week now. Going ahead, I'm trying to book them in to rather than a Friday, so then I've got the weekend to mess about with it, and I can review it in the week. It seems a bit more organised, really. But no, I'd probably just take it out somewhere. Not really sure where, but it's such a. I saw on Twitter someone posted a post about it, so he's seen loads of EV3s around, and I can say the same thing. There's quite a lot of them around my way, because they are quite a good price, and they are quite a nice size as well. So I'm looking forward to that, and just Kia are knocking out the park with their stuff at the moment. So
I'm thinking about doing a video at the moment, and
well, that is your job, I suppose.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but I'd like some feedback from you and from the listeners, stroke viewers.
Okay.
If anyone would actually watch it, but everyone's done like the long road trip in an EV video now.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking of doing a long road trip in an in a lower range EV. Not crazy, but my Tesla Model 3 probably.
Right.
I'm thinking of going to Glasgow in it.
Okay.
And on that journey and the return journey, I want to log it every time I charge, how long it's taken and how much it costs. And anyone that knows me will know it will be done without any agenda.
Yep.
But I don't know if that's... I don't know if people are going to watch it. So what do you think, Alex? Does that sound interesting enough, or do you think it sounds dull and done?
It depends on the title and the thumbnail, I think, how many people will actually click on it. And you could do it in quite an interesting way, I suppose. If you did it in... You possibly could film it in 2 parts, maybe. You could have one where you do it in your Tesla, and this is how... I suppose that's sort of showing how cheap the Tesla is to run.
I could do it in the i7 as well, because I've got that in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But then that's a really long range.
It's got a big battery, isn't it?
Yeah,
So-
it'd be a lot more comfortable in that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Essentially be driving to Glasgow in a lounge.
Yeah, like a living room, yeah.
Yeah. But more expensive as well.
It would be more, yeah, it would be more expensive to do it in that car because, well, I suppose I've driven up that way a few times now in EVs, and there are a lot of Tesla chargers on the route that are with the membership really cheap. When I'm heading up that way in a Lotus Electra in July actually to do the NC500, so I'll be using the charging network up there, which is actually all right to be fair. So that could work.
Hold on, you'll be heading up there in a Lotus Electra.
Yeah.
Whoa! Just dust off those shoulders, big player.
Yep. Yeah.
Check you out.
I know. So we're doing the NC500 next month, actually. So that'll be quite good fun. So yeah.
Look back a couple of years. Did you think you'd be making that statement?
No, not at all.
There you go. Well done, mate.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the charging network up at the very, very top of Scotland's a bit of a wasteland. So we've booked Airbnbs that have chargers. A lot. If there are chargers in some of the towns like Ullapool, the options you have got are like ruinously expensive. But we'll see how it goes. So,
are you going to do like the foodie tour, or because a lot of people do like a bit of a food and drink thing when they do the NC500, don't they?
Do they?
Yeah.
Like a... Oh.
I think there are some like nice restaurants or gastro pubs and stuff.
All right.
But yeah.
We haven't got that far, actually. We're just going to drive around and see how the world takes us.
Just going to load up at Greg's before you leave, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want any of the foreign foods, so...
Foreign food.
Take a Greg's, yeah.
We're going to Goodwood in a couple of weeks, aren't we?
There's so much stuff that's come out. I know you went to Goodwood last year. But I didn't realise how much stuff would actually be sort of stored up to be announced at Goodwood. There's quite a lot of stuff. There's a new...
Have you been before?
No, I'd never been.
Oh, right, okay. So you'll be breaking your duck with me.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's really cool. You'll enjoy it. It's mad and sprawling, and you can easily miss a lot of stuff.
Yep.
But it is cool.
Yeah, there's a new Honda Super EV that's going to be announced.
Right.
I don't know if you saw that. It's a little K car.
No.
It got spotted doing some camouflage testing in London the other week.
Oh, it's a little K car.
Yeah. It looks
now
tiny.
I'm interested.
With a charger flap at the front. It looks like a Honda E sort of crossed with a Suzuki Ignis a little bit.
Oh, right. So this is the one they teased a while ago. There's a bit of a concept-y kind of...
I think that's something else, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
And there's a new Polestar that's going to be announced, and there's a whole host of different things that's going to be launched at Goodwood. So
there's also going to be something else that I'm going to see next week. I'm going to go and do one of those statics. It's been the first time I've done one of those.
Oh.
Where they put me in a studio for an hour with the car, and I do a walk around and stuff. First one of those ever, so don't judge me. But that's been shown off, and the embargo date is actually, I think, the first day of Goodwood.
Right.
And that's something I'm very, 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 I'm just going to keep saying very, excited about, personally.
Nice.
It's going to be a special moment for me, I think.
Yeah.
I just hope it's as good as it should be.
Yeah, sounds exciting. But yeah, this little Honda is apparently different to that concept car. It said it's a A-segment compact EV that has the joy of driving only Honda can offer. But it's been inspired by that Sustainer C concept that you mentioned. So it's a different. I think it is a different car, but it looks really chunky and it looks like a Honda E that's been to the gym. To be fair, so I'm excited for Honda to do some more electric stuff. Because as I said on this podcast before, the E was sensational, but a bit flawed.
We've got a couple of new bits coming from MG at Festival of Speed as well, by the looks of it.
It's supposed to be that new concept SUV, the Cyber X.
Yep.
That was launched at the Shanghai Motor Show a few months ago, and some other stuff. So, I'll be looking forward to that. I think MG are making a big thing about Goodwood again, like they did last year. So, yeah, exciting stuff.
Yeah, last year was that whole celebration of, what was it, like
100 years of MG, I think.
100 years of MG, yeah. But yeah, it obviously worked well for them, and they're going for it again.
Yeah.
And again, it's a good chance for them to impress like proper car enthusiasts rather than people that simply want a mode of transport. So
yeah, and I still haven't driven a Cyberster, so I'm trying to sort that out at some point.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because that really does look like something different from MG, because MG is known to be quite a budget brand.
The build quality is
right,
like exceptional, and when I was at Geneva last year, they had like the MG9 and the MG7, which are much, much more premium. And again, build quality felt really impressive in those. But we don't get them here.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff from China we don't actually get here. Actually, this episode is going to be all over the place. We're sort of going in different directions the whole time.
What change?
But yeah, there was at the BYD Dolphin Surf launch the other week. Auto Express spoke to Steve Beattie, I think his name is, who runs, I think, the product division at BYD UK. He says there are 6 new BYD cars coming by 2026.
Jeez.
Yeah. One of them will be the Atto 2, which is coming in the next few months. That little small SUV. There's a Seal 06 estate car due before the end of this year. Looks pretty cool. And also a Seal 05 Saloon, which is a 3 Series rival. And then I was in London a few months ago for some event, and I spotted a BYD Shark, their big pickup truck. It was in the car park at Battersea Car Park.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was on BYD UK plates. So I was like...
Oh, I think you sent me a picture of that, actually.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's weird. And apparently, yes, they are official BYD cars, and BYD have bought a handful of them over from Australia on UK plates to test them here, and that looks like it will be coming here.
Wow.
He said, the team is working to bring the truck to the UK. We want it here because I think there's a good opportunity for it. And he said they're going to go after the Ford Ranger directly. So
I think BYD are looking at VW, and it's like VW have got almost 3 models for every customer.
Yep.
And they're going to just completely do that because, they make no bones about it. They want to be, for the next however many years, the biggest car manufacturer in the world, and they want everyone to have a BYD available to them. So it's just the rate of development's mad, isn't it?
I can't get my head around it. It's crazy. And there's also a 06 GT, so an estate car, a hatchback, for a rival for the Cupra Born might be coming here as well. So loads of stuff. It's exciting times. So we should have our hands full with BYD launches coming up in the next few years. So yeah,
cool, great,
yeah,
okay.
I think that's a good place to end.
I think it is.
Yeah. If you have made it this far, I congratulate you and also apologise. You can find this podcast on YouTube in video. We're on Apple Podcasts, all those places. We've got an ad-free version now on Apple Podcasts as well. You can check that out on there. Got memberships and stuff. Where can people find you online, Jim, if they want to find out more about you?
My YouTube channel is definitely Not a Guru, or
Nice.
you can go to notaguru.co.uk, and you've got obviously that's my website, but you've got all my links to LinkedIn,
Yep.
Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube, all those kind of things on there. What
Nice.
about you, Alex?
You can check out the website, theinterface.uk. There's probably lots of different news on there for all kinds of people. You've got technology news, car news. There's all sorts of stuff on there, so check that out. And also YouTube, The Interface Cars, for car reviews every week, actually now, which is quite a mission. So, and then all the podcasts and stuff that we do as well. So yeah, all
Fantastic.
good. So yeah, we'll see you again next time. Thanks, Jim, and yeah, have a good weekend.
Have a good one. Bye bye.
Cheers.